There we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Liz Burnett, founder of Kingdom Elegance Magazine, and I am so honored to have our sister, Aldreama Harper. She is our organization declutter guru. Thank you so much, Aldreama, for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I am happy to be here. I'm excited to share, with the listeners and the viewers, things that's going to help them to get organized. This is the time of year when people start thinking about that. They
Yes.
make these New Year's resolutions and things like that. So this might be a good time for people to kind of engage with, our conversation today. So, yeah, so I'm excited.
Absolutely. And Aldrima, I just want to thank you because what our listeners might not know is she is new on board to the magazine. So, on a regular basis, she is going to give you all and me wonderful advice to declutter, to set ourselves free from clutter so that we can live productive lives in our business, in our homes, etc. So, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our mission this year.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because that's one of the things that, I love to share with people is that it's not just an incident, it's not just an event. It really should be a part of our lives
Yes.
because as we are with anything, that we start to do, whether it's, time management, whether it's, whatever it is, whatever endeavor, we take on, it should be part of our lives. That's how we can maintain, the order and it's just not just an event. I think that's what I really wanted. That's what I wanted to drive home. It's
Yeah.
not just an event. It
Yeah.
should be something that becomes a part of who we are. That's what I had to do. Right. I mean, one of the things that I tell people all the time is that it's a commitment and it's an agreement and it's long term, not just an event. So yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
It's the lifestyle.
And when we think of our Heavenly Father, I was thinking just as people's faith, of faith, people who are Christians and even non Christians, our God is a God of order.
That's right.
So if our homes, if our businesses, if things are not in order,
Mhm.
there's something off. So, can you talk about what clutter does to us spiritually, physically, emotionally? What does clutter do in our lives?
Ooh, that is so jam packed.
Mhm. I know it is.
So yeah, and it's so there's a lot of things that people don't realize about clutter. And I'll share a little bit about one of the reasons that I started doing this was because of my own pack rat tendencies. I love to hold on to things. I love to save things. I like to, and so but I also had to become very intentional about maintaining a clutter-free lifestyle. Now there are times when things might get a little bit overwhelming, or things might there are seasons also that I find myself a little bit overwhelmed. And so that's why I said, as before, that it's a part of our lifestyle, has to be a part of what we do on an ongoing basis. But when it comes to clutter and the impact of it,
Mhm.
I'm going to start with one of the most powerful things, not even something that I know that people will resonate with business owners. Clutter costs you money,
Mhm.
costs you
Wow.
ideas.
Yes.
It costs you spiritually because it clogs up the spiritual pipeline. right? A lot of times we don't realize the impact of it, but we know that something is wrong,
Yeah.
right? We know that, like, why am I not able to think through this process? Or why am I not able to, be consistent in my business? Why am I not able to, think long term? And it's because clutter can impact us. So one of the things that I like to share with people is that when you start your decluttering process, you always start with the internal process. You start internally. We know that that's a kingdom principle,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so we always start with what's going on inside, because what we see in terms of clutter is always an indication of as to what's going on inside. It always is. So when you see a bunch of clutter, when you see things piling up, and I'm talking about in my own life, my own experience, when you see things piling up, in certain areas, and it could be anything, it's always an indication of something internal. So
Yeah.
you always start there. You always start there. You always start there by getting clarity. God, what is it, that's clogging up my pipeline, my spiritual pipeline? It could be unforgiveness, right? It could be, things that we don't think about,
Yeah.
right? Because these things impact us. That's why the scripture talks about transformation. That starts internally,
Yeah.
right? So we wonder why we're not, successful in our businesses. And, some may argue, with that whole concept, but because I've heard some, people say, well, I can just work around, all this clutter, but
Mhm.
the thing about it is the visual noise is what is causing us not to be able to focus. And
Yes.
especially when we work from home.
Yes.
I work from home, I know you work from home,
Yeah.
and so we see all of these distractions and things that's causing us to, oh, you know what? Maybe I need to go ahead and wash these dishes, or maybe I need to go ahead and do laundry, or maybe, but maybe I need to go and fold up these clothes. Maybe I need to work on the files. All of that is impacting our productivity.
Yes.
So, it's spiritual, it's emotional,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's and it's external. So there's internal and external, clutter that impacts our ability to be productive, to do the things that God has called us to do.
Mhm.
I had a client that came through one of my decluttering challenges, and she put it so eloquently. She was like, it was like a breath of fresh air, and all of a sudden the ideas can come through. And she launched her business as a result of it.
That's awesome.
She wasn't she it wasn't even something that she came to my decluttering challenge to do. That wasn't even the reason she came.
Wow.
She launched a business, and she's actually on point for a six-figure business just because she got clarity.
My
So
God.
that's what I mean when I say that, it's costing you ideas,
Yeah.
million-dollar ideas. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's so powerful. So it can cost us our peace,
yes.
but it can rob us from our businesses, from
Ooh,
our finances, from maybe even other areas that we don't know. So I love what the example that you gave about your student, your client,
mm-hmm,
who once she was able to take control over her space,
mm-hmm.
then she was able to think freely and more effortlessly to
Yeah,
launch her business.
yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that exciting?
That was so exciting because, you know, b- and again, I always encourage people to start internally. So we go through, that process of, really doing an assessment of
Yeah.
ourselves, because it's all about your mindset, and that transformation doesn't happen if you're not ready to dive into some things that may come up during the process, right? So we always start internally. And so, like I was saying, when we go through, and I have no problem sharing, the 5-step process, with the listeners, but it always start with that internal assessment of yourself. Is there some unforgiveness, right? I mean, is there something that's clogging up the spiritual pipeline, the emotional pipeline, the mental pipeline, that's keeping you from tackling that thing that you see in front of you, that pile of paper that you see in front of you? Is there something internally that's stopping you from making the decision, right? And we know what a decision is. A decision is not a choice. We know from going through the challenge that you and I have gone through.
Yes.
It's a decision, which means you cut off all other options. So
Yeah.
what is it that's stopping you from making that decision to go through and declutter your space? So it all starts here. It all starts here.
Yeah.
What's clogging up that pipeline, right? So yeah, that's definitely, it's important, because most people start with what they see. They start, okay, well, you know what, I got this cluttered office. I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to start, making sure that, I tackle this pile of paper, or this, whatever this is in my office, or whatever this is in my living area, whatever this is in my kitchen. Most people start there without doing that type of an assessment internally. And mine was more about, I had to think through, okay, why is it that you hold on to stuff? Why is it that you're not letting go of certain things? Well, I had to ask myself, I had to dive deeper and ask myself more questions. Well, sometimes it's a part of your upbringing, right? Maybe you were brought up in an environment that you saw clutter, that's all you saw, right? So when you go through that internal type of assessment, then that helps to tackle what's going on outside. Like I said, it's visual noise. And so I had to keep diving deeper internally before I tackled what I was seeing. And so many things were revealed, to me. Again, one of the things, I like to hold on to something. I didn't grow up, wealthy or anything like that. Right. So there were times when I thought I needed to hold on to something because I thought, well, maybe I'll use that again. We all think that, it's like, you know what? I don't want to throw that away because I might need it again, And sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. But when we have an excess of stuff, we really got to think about, okay, what's causing me to hold on to that, all of that stuff, right? One of the other things that I had to think about, I remember one time when my husband and I were moving, and I remember that move was so traumatic for me. I hate moving, first of all, but I literally had, but I was by myself for a little bit of the move. My husband was traveling at the time. And so I literally had a meltdown because the stuff that was in front of me, it was so much stuff. We literally had over 100 boxes. Now, it's just my husband and I. Right. There's no reason we should have 100 boxes of stuff, but I said that to just to kind of point out that At that point is when I made that commitment that I would never wanted that to happen again, where I'm stuck, paralyzed, because I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do
Yes.
because it's so overwhelming. And it doesn't help as you get older. It's like,
Take on more and more and more.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So true.
And so, yeah. So when we talk about the impact of clutter, it paralyzes you.
Oh my God.
And so you just kind of you got to work through that internal stuff before you tackle that external stuff. So hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, it makes so much sense. And I
Yeah.
appreciate what you said, Aldreama, because it is hopeful. You have a story of hope because some people, when they see their clutter, they might feel, like you were just saying, paralyzed. They might
Mhm.
feel hopeless. They might feel like this is it. This is how I'm
Mhm.
going to live. But
Mhm.
you overcame that. You had your
Yeah.
breakthrough, and now
Yeah.
you are helping other men and women get their lives back.
Yeah.
And I wanted your wisdom. You mentioned your 5-step process. Do you want to
Mhm.
share a little bit of that?
Sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just so that our viewers and our readers who will be reading this later on in the magazine, upcoming
Yeah.
magazine, they can see your wisdom, hear your wisdom about how you have tackled this issue and how they can then tackle that issue.
Absolutely. So it is a 5-step process, and I call it APACT. So APACT is the process. And when you go through this process, and sometimes you have to go through it over and over and over. And so, but when you go through this process, on the other side of that, you're going to develop new habits. You're going to, just like you were saying just a second ago, it's like, um, uh, on, let me say it this way. So on the other side of that, because I lost my train of thought, but
That's
uh, on the other side of that, you will begin to live the life of being clutter free,
okay.
because the first step in the process is about an assessment
Mhm.
and an agreement. Right. So that's the A in APACT, APACT. And so the reason why we do that is because, as I said before, you have to do that internal assessment. Ask yourself questions. How did I get here? I had a young lady that went through the challenge, and she discovered that one of the reasons that the clutter started to build up was because she had gone through a job. She had lost her job, right? And that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. When you go through these internal assessments, it could be the loss of a loved one. Some people, so there's different types of things that affect your ability to move forward, and sometimes clutter builds up as a result of it. So she realized that, what, once I lost my job, I didn't know how to move forward. It's like I didn't know what to do. She had been working on that job a long time. So
Wow.
you do this assessment, and then the A also stands for agreement.
Mhm.
So the agreement part of it is when uh, you make an agreement with yourself, right?
Mhm.
That you are going to commit to living a clutter-free life. The
Yeah.
one thing that I believe is that when we make agreements every day, right? We make agreements with ourselves, and when we don't make an agreement, by default, we make an agreement with clutter or
Mhm.
disorganization or lack of boundaries. So when you make this this internal agreement, and I hope this is making sense. So when you make this internal agreement, you got to start each day with committing to doing something and living it, right? So it has to start with an agreement. So let me see if I can make that part clear, because sometimes I don't. But if you don't start your day off with an agreement to, maybe you have a schedule, maybe you're going to, do certain things, maybe you're going to manage your time more effectively, because a lot of people are looking at, things like that. Maybe whatever that is. If you don't start your day that way, it sets the intentions for your day, right? And so when you don't do that, there's, by default, you are still making an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So that agreement is, okay, well, since I didn't start my day this way, anybody can call me, and I'm going to be distracted by anything. So you have made an agreement with the distractions. So no matter what, every day we are making agreements, right? So start with an assessment and make an agreement. Your agreement should be something like, I am committed to living a clutter-free life.
Mm-hmm.
Just start there. And whatever that looks like for you, right? Then that's what you do. So that's the A.
Yes.
So the P is for purge and pile. So this is much more, this is the practical side of it.
Yes.
So I call it purge and pile because you purge the stuff and then you create piles, right? So let's just say you have, we're going to use clothes for an example. Let's just say you have a lot of clothes. Shoes might be one. Here's one. Shoes might be one. It's not, now I'll tell you, it's not my challenge, but I have a client that's like shoes. She found shoes. She had bought the same pair of shoes twice. Exact shoes, because she couldn't find the other pair, right? So, but the P stands for purge and pile. So when you go through whatever area you are going to tackle, you want to make sure that you purge first.
Yes.
Right? So you purge first because you want to remove anything that no longer serves you. Okay.
Excellent.
And so now you're going to have a pile of things that no longer serve you. And you're going to have a pile of, to select the objects, whether it's shoes or whatever, that serves you. And so you're going to have this pile of stuff. And I will say that this is the most difficult part of the process, because most people don't want, it's like, okay, now I'm just seeing more piles. But it serves you well when you can actually see and sort through the piles and make decisions on those things. And it is the most challenge. Everyone that went through the challenge was like, oh my gosh, I just see all this stuff, so it can be overwhelming. So that's just a disclaimer and a warning when you go through this process, right?
Right.
And so, but like I said, you begin to you purge and remove the things that no longer serves you, or the space. Because here's what I want to say about that. Most people, when they are getting organized, and I think I'm looking at my time right now, and it's like, I know I've kind of gone over the time, but
no.
So most people will organize for their space. They'll get organized. When they get organized, they disregard the space that they're trying to organize, and they try to organize the stuff. Okay. So when you organize for the space that you have, then you're going to realize, okay, this is not going to fit this space. Right? So you got to focus on the space that you have and not the stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. That trips people up.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It tripped me up, right? It's like when people are moving into, like when people are downsizing, they want to take everything with them, right? You
Exactly.
can't. So
Yeah.
you're going to have a house full of stuff again because you're trying to downsize, but
Right.
you're not thinking about the space that you're going to.
So
So
true.
you gotta make sure that you consider the space and not the stuff. That's a real key point there.
Yes.
So yeah, so that excuse me, purge and pile. So the next one is another A. Excuse me.
I'm writing this down.
Okay, yes. And that's analyze and assign.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next A. You want to make sure, and what I just said before really leads into this point, because when you analyze the space that you're trying to organize, then you're not going to try to stuff all that same stuff into that space. So that is the key thing, and that what I just said leads to that point, right? You're analyzing the space. So once you create your piles, you go and take a look at the space that you're trying to organize, because sometimes when you go through this process of purging, what happens is different a new space emerges. Like, it's like, oh, you know what, I didn't realize I had this little corner here, because you've purged some stuff out of the space. And so now you look at that, another space, and it's like, okay, well, you know what, now I can, I have a new file drawer because I got rid of all of the other stuff. So now you have a little bit more space. So
God.
that's all a part of the analyzing and assigning a
Mhm.
new home for the stuff that you're going to keep.
Interesting.
Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's all about the analyze and assign. So that's the third A. And so the C is for creating categories and cashing in.
Hmm.
So as new spaces emerge, as you create new spaces, because you have purged and you've analyzed and assigned a new home, you don't go into that new home until you create categories, right? Because it's kind of like, I remember I was working with a client once, and this is when I used to go to people's home to help them get organized. So and so I had created this, this space where, well, and let me say this, because this is going to help you understand. I don't cook. So so I was organizing a kitchen. And so it actually reminds me of two incidents. I'll give you this one with my husband. So
Mhm.
my husband does all the cooking,
Oh,
right? And so he does all the cooking, he does the grocery shopping, all that stuff. We've been married 25 years, and let me tell you, honey, that works for us. Okay.
congratulations, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yes. Thank you.
Good
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so I decided I would organize the spices in the kitchen,
Hmm.
right? Keep in mind, I don't do a lot of cooking. So when he was, he had gone to work. So when he came home, he was like, what did you just do? I was like, well, honey, I organized, the spices. I had put them in, I had alphabetized the spices.
Okay.
I had put them, on the different shelves. How you have that 3-tier, you look at, something really organized.
Hmm.
And so he was like, um, that doesn't work for me. He was trying to be so nice, but he was furious. He was like, let me, whenever you make this decision to
Right.
organize, let me do that, because you have the pepper way back here, but
Oh,
this is a seasoning that I use all the time.
oh,
So you see what I'm saying? So, you're going to create categories that make sense for the new space,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So that's the time that you create categories. And I want to also talk about the cashing in, because
Yes.
I have worked with clients over and over and time again. They either find money, old checks, gift cards,
So
right? So all of those things happen when you're going through this entire process. Not only that, sometimes I used to have another client that I helped her. This is when I used to work again, outside of the home. Well, we decided to put her stuff on eBay, right? So she was able to make money from the things that we were getting rid of after going through the process of decluttering.
oh,
So
wow.
that's what I mean by cashing in,
So it's
right?
profitable.
It's very profitable. So if you change your mindset about the whole decluttering, process and think, okay, I'm getting rid of stuff that's no longer serving me, but I may find some stuff that may serve my finances, that may line my pockets, right? And so I did this for a while. I was helping clients to put stuff on eBay and things like that. But, and there's other platforms, that you can use that's, it may not be eBay, but those are ways that you can cash in when you go through this process, right? And so that's the C. And so the T is for tidying up. This is the part that everybody likes to get to. It's like, help me get to the good stuff because I'm ready to tidy up. And the reason that I like to save this for last, because most people want to go and get the pretty containers and, the little buckets and, all the things that's going to help everything to be pretty, right? You don't do that until the last part of this process, because once you go through the purging, once you go through analyzing and assigning and categorizing, now you have what's left. So if you go out and buy all of these little containers and buckets and things that you want to, use for organizing, you may not use them. It may not work. Right. And so that's why I say that should be the last thing that you do in the process. Now, when I was doing the challenges, the 5-day challenges, a lot of people, it was 5 days, but most times it takes longer. So I always encourage people to start small. Always start small. It may be a drawer, it may be a kitchen drawer.
Okay.
It could be one drawer in your file cabinet, right? Because when you do that, when you start small, you start to kind of stack your accomplishments, right? It's like, okay, I can do this. I can go through this process. I can do this. I can tackle this, the next day. It also eliminates the overwhelm when you start small.
Yes.
Right. So, so hopefully this, helps the listeners, when they are going through this process. Use the APACT, formula to, get yourself to a place of decluttering and just go through it over and over and over.
Yes.
So because you will see some results. And lastly, I always like to tell people to give themselves some grace. Because when you go through this process, a lot of things are going to emerge, right? Different emotions, like I was telling you with the lady that realized that things had piled up because she lost, her job. She cried like for, I would say, for hours, because we were talking about it, and she was a one-on-one client. So it was very painful for her because she realized that was, it's like a separation. It's like a divorce. And so she was still grieving the loss of that job. So there's different emotions that's going to come up as you're going through, this type of process. So that can be very, very painful. It was painful for me. And so that's why I know a lot of times it's going to be painful for others, right?
Yeah.
You can't just, go in, and I even tell this to people who are looking to help others to get organized. You can't just rush in and say, okay, let's just get rid of this. Let's just do this. This is an emotional thing.
Yes, it is.
So there's emotional attachments You know, a lot of people, when they go through, you know, because I'm one that this was something for me, and then I'll stop, you know, because then people may have questions. I don't know if people are chiming in or, you know, what have you, but sentimental things, right? I keep a box of sentimental items. Now, I used to keep all the Christmas cards, all the birthday cards, you know, all of the, you know, the cards that people send, you know, send me. Well, honey, I'm 65 years old. Imagine if I still had all of those cards, right?
That's right.
You know, so yeah.
A lot of clutter.
Would be a lot of clutter. So what you do is, you know, it goes back to organizing for the space. And so you keep a box a certain size, right? And the moment that begins to overflow, you go back and you look at it, because you may find things, it's like, you know what, I can get rid of this now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not attached to the thing, you know, the memory of that person, you know, it's still here. Nobody can take that away,
right.
You know. So there's so many, you know, so many things to consider, you know, when you're going through this process. And so I just encourage people to, you know, if you need to adapt this system, you know, you can adapt this system to make it work for you. You know, but just use that framework, you know, and I believe that, you know, you will see much success. So, yeah.
Aldreama, I love your system because I've seen some organizational gurus who go straight to the problem and tackle it that way, where they say, okay, you need this, 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 and then your life is together. But what you're doing that is unique is there comes a self-analyzation process first. So it's a holistic approach.
Absolutely.
Tackling this problem.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very hopeful and very inspiring. And I wanted to, before we finish for now, because we're going to have so many discussions this year. I'm so
absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm so excited. But I wanted to lead, because you have given some of your client stories and even your stories. Can you tell me another story, and our viewers, another story where someone was able to go through your APACT? Is it, APACT?
APACT.
And tell us what it did for their lives to get that organization. Like, what did it lead to? Can you give us another story?
Yeah. So again, you know, one, you know, launched a business. The other one, you know, as I said, she, you know, was able to overcome and kind of figure out what was causing, you know, the problem. Oh man, and there are, because I've been doing this, I'm trying to think of one that really stands out.
Oh, right.
Because there are a ton of them. So
yes.
Okay, let me think. One lady, and this was some time ago, so it kind of reminds you of the organizing shows, right? And again, it's a holistic process that helps you to go through this, that will help you to really address some of the, you know, emotions. And what happens is, a lot of people, they are elated of the possibilities, right? And so one lady that we did her bedroom. And I say we, actually, she left, her husband hired me. And so we did her bedroom. And when she came back home, she really broke down in tears, because she realized that now that this was a place of serenity.
Yes.
And so sometimes you don't think about the tangible results, right? For her, this was, and again, I'm using this one because she did not actually go through this process. I went through the process for her. And because she was at work, her husband hired me. And so I went to their home. And so they just left me there. That is not something I recommend, but when she came home and she saw, it's kind of like when you see the shows of the, before and after, she was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot even believe this was possible.
Wow.
She had no idea that the bedroom could be that place, of serenity, for her and her husband.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that it surprised me because this was actually early on in my organizing career. And so I had never had anyone respond that way before. I was like, oh my gosh, is everything okay? Why are you crying? And so she just broke down, in tears of disbelief because she did not understand, or she had no idea the potential was there. And I didn't do a whole lot of things, but it goes back to, when you're looking at it and when you're in it, you can't see it. And one of the things that happens is one of the reasons why people can ignore it is because they get clutter blind. And so they're just in it.
Yes.
And they just like, it. But the other thing that, and I'm glad you asked me that too, because even in going through this process, one of the things that I have people to do is to make sure that they take a before picture. They take the before picture.
Yes.
And the after picture. And the reason I have them to do that is because it goes back to the clutter blind. When I want them to see what someone else would see if they walked into that space. And I tell you, when we did that, one of the last ones I did was back in March, and I had them to do that. And it's like, they can't believe what it looks like on, in a picture, right, on their phones. I was like, just take your phone, take a snapshot or do a video, what have you, of the space in its current state. And when they go through that process, it motivates them, to want to do something about it even more, because now you see, what's surrounding you. It's kind of like, because we're both kingdom believers, we're believers. It's kind of like you never know what's surrounding you in the spiritual realm.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, so I always have them to take a picture, and then the after picture, even if it's something that's small, then when they take that after picture, it's like, it gives them a sense of accomplishment and achievement, and peace, because sometimes they'll go through, it's like, well, you know what, I want to keep going. And I was like, okay, if that works for you, please, And so when they go through that process, and do that before and after picture, because of the fact that you become clutter blind, that is an essential part of the process. So hopefully I was able to, kind of give you a picture of some of the results.
Yes,
we're being robbed, like you said, it's like clutter robs you.
Yes, it does.
Of peace.
Yeah.
It robs you of your clarity.
Yes,
it robs you in your finances. It robs you in relationships. Some people really, you've seen the show, your Hoarders. You may or may not have seen it, but you've heard of the show.
Absolutely.
A lot of times they stop seeing their, allowing people to come to their homes, and they isolate themselves, right? So you're robbing yourselves of wonderful relationships, right? Maybe your daughter or, your loved one used to come, where now you don't let them come because you're embarrassed,
right,
about, the stuff that you've accumulated. So So yeah, so just so much is involved in that process, and I really hope that people who listen to this start somewhere.
Yes.
Just start somewhere, and by the end of the year, you'll see some results. You'll
Mhm.
see some instant results, but some people, depending on the amount of what they're dealing with, they'll definitely see some instant results, and it all starts internally. And again, like you said, it's a holistic process.
That's right.
So yeah.
Aldreama, what you do is a ministry, and that's why I'm so thankful to partner with you with Kingdom Elegance Magazine, because you are helping women and men get out of what the Bible talks about, the muck and the mire
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
a mess.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
that clarity that they need, that peace that they need, and so that their homes are a place, like you said, of refuge, of
Hmm.
serenity, of peace.
Yeah.
And it will open up their doors, the doors of many more possibilities, wonderful
Yeah.
opportunities for them and their families. So
Absolutely.
you talked about your challenge.
Yes.
We'll finish off with this.
Yeah.
What is your next challenge?
Well, that's really interesting because I have not done one since March.
Okay.
Okay. And because I've been focused on helping people to launch their business and their podcasts.
Okay.
And so I have not done one since March, but what I have done is I've archived the training that takes them through the process step by step. It is just, a training, and it's for their home or their office.
Okay.
And so I'm not saying that I won't do another decluttering challenge,
Right.
but I haven't done one since March. God kind of has me on this assignment right now in terms of helping people to build businesses and
Right.
and launch their podcasts. But a part of the whole, process is to get organized. So we start with getting organized. So, but
Exactly.
that was the reason why I haven't put one on the schedule yet, but I have, you know, there's training available if anyone is interested, in that. So, but
I
it's
love
the
it.
exact process.
Well, how do they get to the training?
So the training is uh, um, I have a link. I don't know why. I just kind of lost my thought there. I have a link. When you said get to the training, I was like, well, you get to the training, I can share a link so you can get to the training. So anyway, but so the training, I've archived them, but the training is available, and I have it available for $27,
Oh, excellent.
right? And so anyone can access it. You get it instantly. You keep it for life, right? And
That
so because I want people to go through it over and over and over,
yes.
so if I did, whenever we're ready to share the link, I can give you the link, or if you want to share it, or what have you, I can share the link.
Absolutely. If you want to, what I'll do, you can send it to me, and I'll put
Okay.
it in the description.
Okay.
I'll make sure to put it in the description to this recording.
Okay.
So yeah, you could just send it to me, and I'll make sure to put it for everyone who needs to go ahead and declutter their lives this year in 2024 and beyond.
Beyond,
Forever, because
absolutely.
like you said, this training is forever. So
Yes, yes.
no matter what year they're seeing this video right now, they can go to that link that you'll share with me and that I'll share with our audience later. And I'll make sure to
Yeah. So
share
I
that.
just put it, I don't know, you let me know if you see it. That's the link there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. And so what I'll
Um,
do is I will send it.
did you get it in the chat, in our
I
private chat?
don't see it yet, but that's okay.
I can put it.
I
You
will
you
send it. We'll talk
okay,
offline,
we'll do
and what I'll
that.
do is I will send it. Oh, and
I'll send it
yeah, you know what? Oh, I
actually
I think Yes, I
Yeah.
did. I
Yeah.
sure did. So what I'll do, I'll send that to everyone in our description. Straight to the training so that they can get their homes and their businesses together. So I'm so excited. I'm excited for our partnership.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what your wisdom is going to do for
Absolutely.
people's lives. And I am so thankful for you,
Yeah.
Aldreama, for all that you're doing. You have poured into
Yeah.
both women and men and families and helped them to get
Yeah.
control back and freedom back into their lives. So thank you for the important work
Yeah.
you do for the kingdom and beyond.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. Yeah.
yes, and I'm excited about our next call. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for listening. It's been such a blessing, Aldreama. Now, my last question to you: how can they connect
Mhm.
with you on Facebook or any of your other platforms? Is there?
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I am on Facebook. It's under my name. If Aldreama Harper. If
Yeah.
you do facebook.com/ Aldreama.
Okay.
But if you go to OrganizedPreneur.com, you'll see, a lot there. And I don't know if I have I don't know if I have all of my socials on there, but
Okay.
actually, here's how you get to my social.
Yes.
AldreamaHarper.com.
There we go. That's nice and easy.
Yeah. So if you
Oh,
go there, you'll find all the links, in terms of, what I'm doing and things like that. That's how you get there.
well, Aldreama, thank you again. This was
Thank
such an
you.
exciting and encouraging time that we had with you. Thank you for all the
Yeah.
wisdom that you shared. And I hope this gave the ladies, although we have mostly ladies in our audience, we
Yeah.
have some gentlemen who are listening. I hope it gave you hope today.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
year, we're talking about getting out of the muck and the mire in so
Yeah.
many areas, whether it's health, relationships, in this case, organization and
Mhm.
decluttering. So thank you for being a part of this ministry. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Till next time, we thank you for
Yes.
being here, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless you all.
Bye.